Hey everyone, how are you? Welcome back. In case you haven't been here before, my name is Jen and I moved to the Republic of Ireland just over 9 months ago. It'll be 10 months on the 27th, so yeah, welcome. Now I am going to talk about a topic today that so many people are interested in. When people found out that I was doing it, they couldn't believe it for whatever reason. As I said before, it was never an option for me in so many ways to leave my pets at home. I do still have one cat at home that may or may not be coming over here, but that's a different story. I have my dog, Noah, who is about 10 years old. He's a Maltese. And I have my cat, Chloe, who is almost 4. Now I was going to do a complete step-by-step on how to move your animals to Europe, but when I was trying to write this all out, it is so lengthy and so detailed. This video would take a million years. So I'm just going to give a rough how-to and my experiences, and if you have any questions at all, just please feel free to ask me. Now I do have to say, if you are in my situation and you plan on moving your animals abroad, do not listen to what other people have to say about it. There are a number of people who will try to scare you, who will make you think that you're absolutely doing the wrong thing for both you and your pet based off of something that they have heard. 9 times out of 10, it is nothing to do with their personal experiences. I encountered so many of these people and they scared the absolute crap out of me. When it came to Chloe, pretty much from the beginning, I was okay. I was still worried, but I wasn't as over the top worried as people made me feel about taking Noah. So let's just start with Chloe. So I took her over with me on the 27th of September 2016 via cargo. I used Air Canada. So I flew her direct from Toronto to Dublin. It's 6.5 hours from Toronto to Dublin, and then add a couple hours of waiting time in Toronto, add a couple hours of waiting time in Dublin. It's not too bad. So basically with Chloe, because it was my first time shipping an animal, I wasn't overly worried about her and how she would do because I had really a good confidence in her. She's a young cat, she's healthy. She's a sturdy girl. I really wasn't worried about her in that way. I was really worried about having all the correct paperwork filled out and making sure that I actually followed all the timelines that I had to follow. So coming from Canada, moving any pet from Canada to Ireland, there are a certain amount of regulations that you have to follow. One of them for both cats and dogs is that they have to be microchipped, and they have to do this before they get the rabies vaccination. There was a big blunder with Chloe's. She ended up getting microchipped more than once because she had already been microchipped, but I was really uninformed about how they worked. I thought that I had missed the boat on registering it properly, and I was just really confused and misinformed about the whole thing. It has to be a microchip with a certain amount of digits. I believe it's 10 digits, and she had been microchipped when I had first gotten her as a kitten, but again, like I said, I was really confused about it. So she unnecessarily ended up getting microchipped a second time. Don't worry, it was completely fine. I don't think she even made a noise, and there is no health risks to having 2 microchips. So then she had a rabies vaccination right afterwards. You have to have that. It's somewhere between 21 to 30 days before the pet actually arrives in Ireland. What was frustrating about the situation is the vet really did not have a huge amount of knowledge on filling out the paperwork that's required to move your pets overseas. I was there for well over an hour with Chloe, being very stern and strict about filling out the paperwork, because with certain things you even have to remind them to put it in capital letters. You have to remind them to sign with blue ink instead of black, and a lot of the time they'll just rush ahead and they don't think that it's a big deal. According to the instructions it is, and I just really didn't want to deal with having to do it all over again, especially when you're in a really important time crunch. So I had to get him to fill out the EU pet certificate, which is basically the pet passport. I had to get him to fill out the rabies and the microchip certificates. I had to get him to fill out a declaration that Chloe was in good enough health to travel. And I got them to write a letter stating that the microchip was implanted in Chloe before the rabies vaccination, because that is very important. I guess they think that you might switch the animal or something on them, but I don't know why that's such an issue. Like, if that actually happens, it just seems like an odd thing to do. So it felt like so much more of a production with Chloe, because I had gotten, I think it's pettravelstore.com, I'll leave their link in the description below, to send me all of the forms and information for Chloe. The EU pet certificate actually ended up changing during the small period of time that I had ordered it, and I needed to go get it signed, so I had to change that, and I was so worked up about it. I was emailing them constantly, making sure everything was okay. I bought a pet carrier from the United States, which I paid almost as much for shipping as for the pet carrier, and then having to pay to pick it up as well. I was just really, really concerned with all the little details, and I was terrified that she would be rejected for any amount of reasons. So then, I think it's within 10 days of you actually leaving, you have to get all the papers certified by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and then once they are, you are finally all ready to go. Now with Chloe, I actually completely forgot about this. I didn't ship her on the 27th of September. I moved her 5 days after me, and that was because I was really concerned about getting settled in as it was, obviously. And then it was just a lot easier to have a little bit of time in between. When you are traveling with a pet, you can have them fly in 5 days before you and up to 5 days after you. Then they are still considered accompanied, and everything is substantially easier. The rules do change if they're unaccompanied. So my mom dropped Chloe off for me in her carrier with all of her papers about 2 hours before the flight was going to leave. At that point, we had to pay the fee for her to get on the plane, which was about $675 for her. That was actually more than my ticket was for return. And honestly, that was it. I had her number, I forget what it's called, it's like a way bill number or something like that. I had that so I can track where she was, if she had been checked in, and everything like that. So that was nice to see, although it is usually a little bit behind if they're not really on top of it. Before I continue on with this, I just want to say, I totally forgot about this part, that after you drop them off at the cargo center, which in Toronto is like, it's not attached to the airport, but it's close to the airport. When they take your pet from you, they put them in a quiet, temperature-controlled room with the lights dimmed, so they're not just, sitting anywhere. I went over this with people multiple times, that's where they would be. And then once they are ready for them, they will transfer them onto the plane. I know that you've probably heard horror stories of the airline crew leaving the pets outside in bad weather for periods of time before they are transferred. I definitely didn't have that experience. Just double check with your airline and talk to them about any concerns you may have. Unfortunately, the people who have bad experiences, that seems to be the overwhelming opinion that that's going to happen. So just, like I said, talk to the people. It happens way, way less often than you think. Also, with Air Canada, you're not even allowed to move your pet in the months where it is too cold or too warm, so that is another way to prevent any of that from even possibly occurring. Now, the trip to pick her up in Dublin was annoying because we didn't end up going over there by car, we went by train, and it was just a big production. So from the airport, they get transferred to a kennel/vet where they are checked over, where their paperwork is checked over, and all of that. So you don't have to do that yourself. So once we got to the kennel, I was petrified waiting because they told me that she had just arrived. It was probably 3 hours after the flight had landed, so I was a little And then they told me that Air Canada hadn't notified them that she was to arrive at the kennel. And they told me that I was the one who was supposed to do that, which I actually knew was not true, but thankfully they took her anyway. So they came to get me and everything was fine, thank God. She arrived in good health. She had obviously, the thing that I am most uncomfortable with just about the whole thing in terms of their comfort is they do have to pee and poo in their crate, which sucks, but you have to have a crate big enough for them to move around comfortably anyway, so it's not like they don't have room to do it. But that's the only part I don't like, the thought of them lying in it to any extent. Like, there is I did put pee pads underneath and I put a blanket on top, but that was the thing, honestly, that I felt almost the worst about. So anyway, like I said, we picked Chloe up, everything was fine. I had to pay, what did I say before? It was the equivalent of about $300 to $400 to pick Chloe up, which includes them checking her over, the transfer fee from the airport to there and everything like that. So it is an expensive process, but if she had been any bigger in terms of her flights alone, that would have been a lot more. So Chloe adjusted well when she came back here. She adjusted well to her new food. She never got sick at all. She was honestly, besides the fact that she was for sure confused about her surroundings in a while, and I know she was missing my other cat, Kenya, which I feel terrible about still, she adjusted really, really well. She didn't get sick at all, and yeah, everything was great in terms of her adjustment. Now my dog, Noah, that was one I thought about so much. I stayed up for so many nights just thinking about whether or not I could bring him safely. I was so paranoid. So many people were making me feel like it was a terrible idea. But Noah honestly he is like my soulmate in a dog, like the connection that me and him have. He loves me so, so much. I know that I'm like his person, which I've never really had in an animal before. They haven't so clearly preferred me over anybody else, and that is a feeling that it makes you feel amazing, and I just love him so much. And the thought of potentially, missing out on the rest of his life because he is an older dog was absolutely devastating to me. My mom was also in a position where she really couldn't take him anymore. Noah is a fairly high maintenance dog, and obviously she would have kept him if there's no way that I could have taken him, but I really, really wanted to take him. So because I was so paranoid about Noah traveling via cargo for whatever reason, I was looking into actually flying with him, because he can fly with you on the plane to Paris, but underneath your seat, because he's only a small dog, but he can't fly with you on the plane to Ireland or the UK. It's a regulation that they have. They can't be in the cabin, they can't be underneath your seat. It's just how it is. So I seriously looked into, and I was just about to book my flight as well, for flying from Toronto to Paris and then taking a ferry into Ireland. But then, number one, it was going to take almost 24 hours to do the whole thing. And number two, I couldn't even have him with me on the ferry. He would be in a cage for over 12 hours. So when I weighed up my options, it seemed a lot kinder for him to be in cargo, because it would be for a much smaller period of time that because even being underneath my seat, he's going to be shoved into a little, a little bag type of thing, those soft carriers. And with those, they can't easily turn around and go to the bathroom. It would have been horrible. Neither one of us would have been able to relax for the entire flight. It was really only after talking to my grandma, who had talked to the breeder that they had gotten their dog from, that she had said that she had shipped all kinds of dogs overseas to Europe and everything had turned out completely fine, and that she honestly thought that he would be okay. Even being an older dog, which made me feel a lot better. So my mom had went and gotten blood tests on him and urine tests just to make sure that he really was in good health, because with Noah, he does have he has pretty severe allergies when it comes to certain food, and he doesn't have the greatest teeth, and sometimes it's unclear what is really going on with him. Generally he is a very upbeat and happy dog, but with him getting older as well, things change. But it turned out that he was in perfectly good health, and the vet gave him the go ahead to travel. So that was another huge thing that really made me feel okay about the situation. See, the only difference in terms of having to go through all the paperwork process again with Noah is that he had to get treated for tapeworm a maximum 5 days before he was to enter Ireland. So we went and did that. Thankfully, that was hardly any money to do, so it wasn't much more for him than it was for Chloe. So he ended up leaving for Ireland the same day that I did, so I dropped him off with my mom at cargo, and it was stressful because the carrier that I had him in, they were gonna charge me like almost double the price to ship him because it was a bigger crate. He really didn't need that much space, but I just wanted to have, a little bit extra, but apparently it is better for them to have a little bit less as long as they can still turn around and everything. They're just more secure. So they ended up putting together a smaller crate for him at the airport. The crate that I had as well wasn't technically airline approved, which I didn't know because when I bought it, they said that it was. So definitely check out for that. Look up the requirements for airline approved crates because there is little differences that you want to look out for. And after all this commotion, I was starting to run late for my flight. I was worried enough about him as it was, but everything was fine and we did end up leaving him there. They, took him into the other room. Like I said, everything was fine. I was almost late for my flight, but everything was fine. It shouldn't have taken that long. Like I said, there were just those other requirements. I had been misinformed about the price of the crate. The woman on the phone, anytime that I'd called about 3 times to double check the price, even though I had a bigger crate, and they said that it would still be the same price. So I did check, and I really don't know what was going on there. Just make sure that you follow their guidelines and have the right, pick the right crate, use the right measurements given the weight and height, length of your dog. So including buying the crate for Noah, it was only about $730 to ship him. So and they charged over $100 for the crate as it is. So it was less for him than it was for Chloe because he actually weighs a little bit less than Chloe. Now I picked him up by myself in Dublin because I was staying at the hotel for the day. The airline had done what they were supposed to do, what I could have sworn they were supposed to do, and notified the kennel that Noah was coming. I called them and I told them I would be a little bit later and just wanted to make sure that Noah had arrived and was okay. He was perfectly fine, so I was able to breathe a huge sigh of relief. I picked him up and honestly, he's done so much better than I thought he would in terms of adjusting. Like obviously I would never have put him in that situation if I truly thought it was dangerous and that he would never be able to adjust, because I really do believe that he can adjust anywhere that I am, and he's just adjusted so much easier than I ever thought. He did have a little bit of trouble sleeping downstairs for the first week or so. He would bark sporadically in the night, but very little, and after that he hasn't done it once. So really good experience with him, really good experience with Chloe. So long video with lots of rambling, but I would say my overall experience with shipping my cat and dog via cargo was a good one. I want to stress, do your research. Do tons and tons of research, but don't stress out. There are tons of contacts that you can, talk to if you have any questions. I would always recommend contacting as well the people on the other side. So I contacted, I forget what it's called. I basically contacted the people in Ireland that were responsible for importing animals and directly asked them any questions that I had. Now, one person that I talked to did give me a little bit of wrong information, so just watch out for that. But in terms of quarantine and things like that, that was a big question that I had. There was no longer any quarantine needed for animals, that passed the health inspections into Ireland, so I could take them right away. There are different situations if you ship them without having, the required documents or the required vaccinations and things like that, then that is when your animal is more than likely to go into quarantine for a while. But again, that's not generally a thing that you have to worry about in this country. So I hope I put your minds at ease, or you learn, just helped you learn something about moving your animal overseas. It is a really complicated process, but like I said, as long as you do your research, you make your phone calls, you know what you're doing, everything should be perfectly fine. And with Noah being 10 years old, I just want to stress that there is no age limit on moving your animal overseas as long as they are like healthy and they are sturdy and you know they meet the requirements in terms of the breeds that you can ship and things like that. There is no reason. That was lovely. There's no reason why you should not be able to safely ship them overseas. And I can honestly say I couldn't be more happy that I did bring them with me. Yes, it makes it more complicated for living situations and all of that. It's not easy to just, you know, pick up and move with 2 animals, but they have just brought so much to my life over here, and I can't imagine what I would have done in some ways if I hadn't have had them. If I forgot anything crucial, I will leave it down below in the description, but please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and feel free to ask me any questions that you might have in the comment section below, and I will talk to you later. Bye.